Alright, this is a pre-trip on 889. We're going to start by lifting up the hood and checking all the fluids. So, on both sides you're going to find these latches. I already did the other side. All you do is lift this up, make sure it doesn't catch. And then up here, you're going to find a handle. And then you're just going to pull. It's not that heavy. I just did it with one hand. Then you're going to need a towel for the oil and the transmission fluid. But we'll start with what's right in front of us. Right here, you're going to find your power steering fluid. It says Maximin right here. You're going to want that in the middle. You can kind of see where it's at because there's a light and dark right about there. It's right about here, which is okay. Always make sure your fuse box covers are on so that way nothing gets corroded and damaged. Right here is your oil. When you check that, you're going to twist it so it unlocks, and then you're just going to pull it a little. And we'll see if I can set this up so you can watch me do this. So, you pull it out, you wipe it off the first time, and then you put it back in, and make sure it's flush. Pull it back out. And right here is your oil level. That's about where you want it, honestly. Anywhere in that hash, preferably in the middle, is ideal. So that's good. Transmission fluid, you're gonna check while the vehicle is on and running and has been running for a while, so that way all the fluid goes through all the injectors. But just because you won't be able to hear me, I'm gonna check it when it's cold, and just to show you where it should be at. Your transmission dipstick is located right here. To take it out, I believe, you just twist it out. It's like a little screw. And then you should be able to pull like that. So I'll set this up again because it's hard to hold it. So you take it out, same thing, you wipe it off the first time. And then you stick it back in. Just until it's flush. You don't gotta twist it back in. But you pull it back out. And right there is your transmission fluid line. I did drive this from across the street, so it should be at kind of the right mark. But when you check it, once again, the vehicle should be on and running. Right here it says cold, and then cold, full, hot, add, whatever that. Oh, so if it's right here when it's cold or hot, I guess you got to add some. And then right here it says hot, full. It should be at that level where that little scratch is. So if it's in here when you're checking it and it's hot, that means you have to add it. And when it's up here, that means you're good. Okay? If you ever have to top this off, the transmission fluid goes right in the same hole as the dipstick. So you're gonna need a funnel. So you just put it back in. Twist it, make sure it's tight so it doesn't pop out. Right here on the upper fender of the driver's side tire, you're going to see all your information. It is a Cummins 6 or L6 8.9. It takes 1540 oil. It takes about 18 quarts. 2 for filters. I don't know what that means, honestly. But it is an Allison transmission. But yeah, that's your information you'll need. This cap on top is where you fill your oil. And if you take a peek at the front of the motor, that is your serpentine belt. You also want to check that, see if it's like worn, damaged, hanging off one of the pulleys, anything like that. But this one seems to be good. While we're standing right here and we have the hood up, you can check your front tire better. I'm going to do one front and one rear because each set is the same and it'll save me a little bit of time. When you're looking at these, you always want to make sure you can stick your finger in there, and if the tread comes halfway up your fingertip, that's decent. Make sure you look behind the tire. If you see any oil dripping from the rim down to the ground, that means your axle seal is bad. That needs to get replaced. Look at your shocks, which are right there. Make sure that doesn't have oil coming off of that too, because if it does, that means it's blown. Check all your steering linkages, tug on them, kick them a little. If they move, that's not good. But if they're sturdy, it's fine. Always make sure you check your lug nuts, make sure they're tight. They shouldn't move, that'd be bad. We'll come to the other side. So I believe there's other stuff over here. Right here is your coolant level. Right here you'll see max and min again. You always want it kind of in the middle of that. It's a little low, so that needs to be topped off. If you can't see inside this container for some reason, please make sure that your vehicle is off and cold, because it is a pressurized system and that fluid does get hot. It could spray back up at you. Right there is your washer fluid. You always want to make sure that's topped off because it's a violation if you don't. That's a simple fix. You can go right to a parts store or your nearest gas station and get some. There's no excuses. So yeah, we'll do a dual. Oh, since we're right here, this thing has 2 gas tanks, one on each side of the truck. They are diesel. Do not put gas in it. If you look right on the gas cap, it is labeled diesel. There should be a green sticker on here at some point, but it must have blown off. That will get replaced when we do PMs. But this is diesel. You always want to make sure that your gas cap is tight and tethered. It should have a string attached to it on both tanks. So just make sure of that and make sure it's tight. Your duals, same thing. Check your tread. These are a little low. I can barely even stick my fingernail in there. So those tires got to get replaced. Once again, check your lug nuts. Make sure those are all tight. Take a look at your mud flaps. Make sure they're not dragging on the ground or up too high close to the bed, because that prevents any rocks getting thrown at other cars. Check out your leaf springs in the back, which are those. Make sure you don't see any cracks or damage. Take a look behind the tire. Make sure, same thing with the axle seals. Make sure you don't see any oil coming down. But you'll check both duals. Make sure you don't see any rocks in between your duals, because sometimes those can get stuck, and if those come flying out, that's no bueno. Alrighty. So we'll put the hood down. All you do is push that down, latch it back up. You're going to want that lip to catch like that, and then you just push it down. Watch your fingers. Your fire extinguisher is located right behind your driver's side, behind the cab. When you're looking at that, make sure that yellow needle is in the green. That means your fire extinguisher is ready and operational. Make sure your pin is in there so that way it doesn't discharge when you don't want it to. Make sure you have a spare tire. That's good. Once again, just make sure you have tread on it. It doesn't necessarily have to be pumped up. You can always do that at a gas station or anywhere to get you to your nearest stop. Make sure it's not dry rotted, anything like that. In here, you'll also find a second fire extinguisher. Same thing, check your needle and for your pin. Right here on the floor in between your 2 seats, you're going to find a red box. That's your triangles in case of emergency. Your keys should never be left inside the cab. Instead, they should be left in the job box located on the back of your truck, which is that big orange box right there. The reason behind that is because we seem to like to lock keys in the truck, so please make sure those are locked up in there at the end of the day. in here is your cab. You're gonna find all sorts of fun things. If you turn the key, there you go. You're gonna want to check to make sure all your gauges are working properly. I'm not gonna start this because it's gonna be really hard for you to hear me, but it'll give you an idea what to look for. Before you release your parking brake, after you start the vehicle, this needle will gain pressure and you'll be able to release your parking brake. I will have to start it to show you how to check for your parking brake, but I'll do that in a little while. But yeah, your washer or your wipers are located right here. This controls your speed, like that. And then I believe, yeah, there's a button on the end. If you push that, that makes your washer fluid come out. Make sure that happens. Down here is your defrost settings. You're going to want to make sure those work too, because that's important. Check out your windshield. Make sure you don't see any cracks or chips or anything like that. Same thing for your mirrors. Make sure they're not damaged, broken, missing. Let's see, your seatbelt. Your seatbelt, make sure that latches and it works properly. You know, you always want to return home the same way you came into work. So click that in. It should latch. Give it a little tug. Fantastic. Let's grab my logbook, which is right here. On the side in your door jamb, you should find the gross vehicle weight rating, which is on here somewhere. It's on here. I know it is. GVWR in pounds. This is, sorry, I know you can't see that, 33,000 pounds. So I believe this truck requires a CDL. I would double check on that because I'm not entirely sure, but I presume it does. So check your horn, make sure that works. We'll check lights since we're in here. I can get this thing like that. So I'm going to stick my headlights on, which is this fancy switch here. I believe it's up. So yeah, if you push it up, that's your headlights, and down is your marker lights. In the middle is off. So I'm going to do up. Your four ways are located right here. Push those down and your four ways come on. And then I'm also going to turn my beacons on, which is located right here on your console. So we'll walk around. Check your marker light, the one that's on the fender. Our four ways, one of our four ways isn't working. So we got one out, and this one's on. You also have headlamps on top of your cab. Make sure those are on. You have another marker light on the passenger fender. You've got two beacons up there. And you've got four ways in the back, which is brake lights, all that good stuff. Make sure you're checking brake and reverse with a second person. I'm kind of lone soldier right now, so it's a little bit more difficult, but you get the gist. You know, check your four ways, make sure all those work properly, check your brakes, all that good stuff. So we'll check our parking brake. So I'm gonna have to start this. It may be a little hard for you to hear me, but we'll close. So when it stops yelling at you like that, that means, oh, see, low air. It means you gotta wait for it to air back up so you can release the parking brake. So I'm just gonna let it rev for a little bit so it can gain some air. Okay, now that it's stopped yelling at me, my parking brake is applied, which means if I put this into gear, we'll do drive, put your foot on the brake just in case. Now it says 6N, now it says 6.2. This truck should not move if my parking brake works. And you can test that by slowly letting your foot off the brake. Perfect, look at that. Now, before you just pull the parking brake back out, make sure you press neutral, which is the N, and make sure that says double N before you let off the brake again. That's how you know your parking brake works. Your parking brake is located right here, that's the diamond. If you pull out, see, pull to apply, that means you're applying your parking brake. If you push it, that's how you release it. Let's see, we missed. I'm gonna shut this off, so hopefully you can hear me a little bit better. Let's see. So after you checked all your lights, your parking brakes, heater, defrost, we went over triangles and fire extinguisher, seatbelt, all that good stuff. We checked our engine oil, trans oil, power steering, all the belts, the coolant, washer fluid, all that good stuff. Around the vehicle, fuel tank, doors, mud flaps, brakes, suspensions, all that good stuff, lug nuts, those are good. Once again, your driver's license, I believe it's a CDL because it's 33,000 pounds. That's heavy. You might have to double check. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, that would be your proper license for the vehicle. Make sure you have your med card, your proper PPE. This is a spray truck, so make sure you have at least your gloves, goggles, your gloves, goggles, or safety glasses, long sleeve shirt, boots, socks, maybe even a hard hat. Make sure you get a good night's sleep. Your toolbox isn't required for DOT inspection, but we like to keep them on the trucks. Those will be located in your job box. That is where you'll put, right here is where you'll put your weight. That's gross vehicle weight rating. And your height, which is located right there above the little shifter, height 10.4. That's where you put the height. And that concludes this video. So thank you.